So everything we do from our conversations with the legislator all the way to what we sell in the grocery store has to do with selling pork. So we had to look at this. We had to get rid of the emotion and the frustration as a farmer, and we had to dig into the data. And that's when we teamed up with Heart+Mind, and we were able to actually do a very intense survey of what our consumers thought of Ohio. And we also took it another step further and we said, what does the voters think too in our community decision makers? Because that inhibit how we raised pigs. And so we looked at that in depthly and we wanted to develop a playbook so we were intentional about our messaging. So that we're actually telling them the story that we wanted to be transparent, right? We want to be meaningful, but at the same time, we got to meet that consumer exactly where they're at and communicate on their terms, in their way, in their world, instead of being on the farmer's level. We do have another project where we work through sustainability and our supply chain partners. Our farmers were being asked about sustainability and what's their sustainability story. So as we were interviewing and going through these process with Heart+Mind, we found out that we're not using the word slaughter with any of them. And we found out our partners at Clemens were struggling with the same thing too. They knew they were a processing plant, but they didn't want to use the word process. We don't want to use producer because it sounds too industrial. So that's when we get back to the family farm. We have large family farms raising these large farms that are partnering with other families to grow pork. And that's how we talk about it. And we really need to really capitalize on that so that we're reaching them at more of an emotional level. We've been really particular about our messaging and what words we're going to use. We have evolved so much that we've gone from pork farmers to pork producers to, we really talk about real pig farming instead of talking about the hog farmer. I mean, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's how you relate and how you get the consumer to really connect with you on an emotional level. And I think that's where these playbooks really come and play for us. They show you in this audience, the data shows if I use this, I'm going to get to them and I can connect. In this audience, don't touch it. And recently at the state fair, we have a sow and piglet display. So they moved our sow display and we're over by the cows. And we couldn't figure out, but they were desensitized this time. They weren't as defensive about these farrowing stalls. We found out we couldn't decide if it's because we were with the other species that they weren't as defensive about the farrowing stalls this year. And we think it was because we have been doing such a more public, transparent campaigns about what we do in the barns every day. Our state veterinarian says, I think maybe you're just doing a better job at storytelling. And I think we're starting to start seeing that. And that's hard to honestly tell our producers or show them the return on their investment of the storytelling. But that's great examples of how you just got to be very intentional about what you're messaging and try to train and educate your producers or interns or anybody that's on your team so we're all on the same page. And I think that that's really important.